Hey everyone, how's it going? SkullMountainFanboy here. Today I'll be doing my first coaster review. So the first coaster I'll be reviewing is El Toro at Six Flags Skull Mountain, and... Okay, that was wrong. The first coaster I'll be reviewing is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. Okay, that time I got it right. I'm just going to start off this review by saying that this ride is insanely good. I currently have this ranked at number 5 out of 102 credits. So although some rides are better than it, this ride gives you a huge adrenaline rush that some rides above it in my rankings don't even give, which make this ride really one of a kind. I will go into more detail about this ride experience later, but for now, let's talk about each part of this ride one by one. So this ride starts out by going into the cable lift. Now of course, this isn't a launch like Lightning Rod or something, but this is pretty fast and it actually makes the lift hill experience kind of enjoyable. I think that it's pretty funny that in terms of pacing, this ride is going fast starting with even the lift. It's just like, wow, this ride is already going fast even though we're on the lift hill. That just kind of gives you an intro to how crazy the ride actually is. So anyways, after you release from the lift, you go into the turn going into the drop. Now this turn isn't very special in the front or even the middle rows, but in the back, towards the end, you get some crazy lateral G-forces. This happens because the front of the train goes down the drop before you even reach the end of the turnaround. So not only do you get crazy ejector, but you get crazy laterals as the train speeds up. That leads me into the next element, the drop. This drop is one of the craziest, most aggressive drops I've personally ever experienced. Now, it's not quite the craziest drop I've ever experienced, but it's really up there. And not only is it crazy steep, but it gives awesome airtime, and you go straight into a head chopper at the bottom, which, it's a great head chopper, honestly, because, you know, it's just great. I love that drop so much. After that, you go into the first airtime hill, and I'm sure you've heard how strong the airtime is on these hills, and it's exactly like what you've heard. No matter where you sit, you get whipped out of your seat. And then you go into the next hill, which is no worse than the one before it. After those two, you go into the turnaround. This element isn't necessarily terrible, but I feel like it is a bit dull. And not only is it very exciting, but you get a lot of jackhammering at the bottom, which is an issue I will talk about later. And then you exit the turnaround, giving a little bit of weightlessness, and yes, I said it, some hills on El Toro don't have airtime. And after that hill, you enter, I guess you could call a speed hill, which gives okay floater, but it's not that great. It's kind of similar to the exit of the turnaround. It's a kind of weightlessness. But the streak of boringness ends as you enter this turn right here. This turn is very intense, pulling a lot of positive G's, and then it leads into the best part of the ride, the Rolling Thunder Hill. Again, no matter where you sit, you will get crazy strong airtime. This train is going way too fast over this hill, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it just makes it so much better. In fact, this hill is rumored to pull over -2 G's on good days, and if you know anything about G-forces, you know that is a lot of negative G's. So after that insane Rolling Thunder Hill, you dive into a bunch of S-bends, which also pull a lot of positive G's, but sadly, these also give some jackhammering. And finally, you go into a couple of twisty airtime hills, which on days where the ride is running really fast actually gives some full ejector pops, floater ejector. Then you hit the brake run and the ride is over. So as you can see, most of this ride is really good. The really good parts make up for the not so exciting parts. Like I mentioned earlier, this ride gives an insane adrenaline rush. This whole ride is fast, even if the speed isn't necessarily used to its advantage. And even then, there are still quite a few great elements on this ride. However, this ride isn't actually as smooth as some people make it out to be. Yes, it is way smoother than most wooden coasters, but I find the jackhammering to be way worse than a lot of other woodies. This is because the seat has very minimal padding, which I think Intamin really messed up on. Every other wooden coaster I've ridden has had very comfortable seats, with padding on every inch of the seat, but I'm just surprised that Intamin didn't even plan for any bumps, because it is a wooden coaster. Eventually the track will develop bumps, that's why other companies put padding on their seats. So I think that's a major fault that Intamin made, and just makes this ride kind of worse. Granted, some seats are better than others, like the second to back row isn't as bad as the back row in terms of jackhammering, just because the back row is on a wheel, and the second to back row is in between two wheels. If you know anything about wheel seats are always rougher. But other than that, the good thing about the seats is that the restraints are really nice. You don't get an Intamin staple like you get on rides like Skyrush or Maverick, so at least that is good, especially on an airtime machine like El Toro. So overall, this ride is crazy good. Like, yes, it does have some downfalls. Overall, the ride experience is just crazy. Currently, this is my favorite Woody, and I don't think that will change anytime soon. And I highly recommend putting this high on your bucket list, because I think everyone will love this ride in some way. If I had to give this ride a score, I would probably give it a 9.5. This ride is crazy good. The reason why I would take half a point off is because of the jackhammering and the dull moments. So that concludes this review, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this kind of review. And yeah, if you have any review suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Also about comments, I am still doing a Q&A 2 videos from now. So leave a comment on this video if you have a question, or if you think of a question, leave it on my next video. And then comments from this video, my previous video, and my next video all be combined into one Q&A. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next upload. Bye.